Here's one of the hottest, in my opinion, roofing products on the market that you can buy. Now, it's not new, but it's something that most contractors don't use. Just scared to use some new stuff. And this is self-adhering EPDM or flat roofing. You can see in the picture that there's guys kind of climbing around on a flat roof, pulling this piece of paper off the back of the EPDM. And traditionally, what you have to do is take a bucket of adhesive where they're tearing off this plastic release paper, and you have to glue and roll out like you're painting a wall EPDM. And that stuff allows it to stick to the roof itself. So you not only do you have to roll this adhesive on the back part of the rubber, but you have to also roll the adhesive on that gray stuff there that you see, which is the ISO board. And then you have to wait. So you need to have it dry so that the glues are sticky, but not too wet. And so in certain temperatures, it takes longer. If it's raining, you definitely can't do this anyway. But if it's just like foggy, it just takes so much longer for the adhesives to cure in order for you to then roll the rubber on top of it so that it adheres the rubber to the substrate. So with self-adhering, this is what you get. You have a product that saves a significant amount of labor costs and skilled labor. So you don't need somebody that's overly great at putting this stuff on. I mean, there's a technique to rolling out the glues and adhesives on these rubbers, not too much, not too little. If it's super hot, making sure that the bucket's stirred, making sure that you don't get it all over the rubber when you're walking around, making sure you don't have it all over your hands and it smells. It's got it's a bad odor to it. Sometimes when we do place buildings, it'll actually go inside the building, and the people at the top floors of these buildings, they start to get sick and they're like, what's this smell? So, this product eliminates all of that nonsense, and it's odor free. There's no scent to this. There's no messy glues. There's no, by mistake I dropped and I kicked over the bucket and it's all over the roof now and it looks like garbage, and it's not on your clothes when you go home. So this is a better way to put EPDM on. Let me show you the numbers behind it so that I can prove to you, and you may or may not believe me, but that I can prove to you that it's cost effective as well as labor saving, which allows you to get to the next job faster. So let me pull up this over here and go over these numbers. So I've got EPDM, and I'm assuming, I'm going to say that these EPDM rolls are 5 square rolls. So this is the self-adhering. This is the stuff that I'm talking about that's better than the traditional EPDM, and this is the traditional EPDM over here. So EPDM rolls for SA, the self-adhering, they're about $750 a roll. They're more expensive than a traditional roll, which you can see here is at $450. But let's keep going down the list because there's no adhesives needed for the self-adhering EPDM. But on the other side, the traditional EPDM, it needs it. So and there's a certain amount of waste that you'll go through, and I'll talk about that in a second. But to do a 5 square roll, you need about $225 worth of adhesives on average. And you need these roller covers because you have to, for traditional EPDM, you need a roller cover like you would paint your wall, and you need a roller cage, which you would attach to like a pole. And then we roll that out onto the roof. So you need, for a 5 square roll of EPDM, you probably need a couple roller covers. You got 3 guys working. You need a couple roller cages. Let's just say that's $8. The self-adhering EPDM doesn't need any of that. All right, and there's no real waste factor with the chemicals because you may not use all $225 worth of the adhesive, and then it sits in the warehouse, and it's an issue because then you got to get rid of it. And if your guys aren't smart enough or efficient enough, they don't take it to the next job. It piles up in the warehouse, and you got this big, huge mess of toxic chemicals. You got to get rid of them somehow. A lot of people get in trouble companies get in trouble for storing these and then dumping them in the backyard or just dumping them on the street. It happens. I'm not saying all of them do it, but then it's a cost to get rid of this stuff because it is toxic. It can only last so long. So if you buy bulk stuff and you let it sit and freeze, this stuff's useless. So there's a 10% waste factor as far as I'm concerned. So if you look down here, the only thing you got to buy for the EPDM is the EPDM for the self-adhering stuff. But you got to buy all this other stuff in order to install the traditional EPDM with the glues and adhesives. So look, you can look at the difference. I mean, they're pretty close in price. You're talking $60 difference, right? Now let's go down to, let's assume that the roof is ready for installation and the roof is torn off. There's the insulation boards down, and we're installing a roll, just rolling it straight out across the roof, all the way across, which is going to be, for a 5 square roll, it's going to be 50 feet long. So we're going to have a 50-foot run. We're going to install this, and we're going to put the self-adhering roof up against laborers doing a traditional EPDM roof. Now they're just rolling it out. Chances that this is going to happen on a big building is high because you're going to run a 50-foot roll out all the way across. Residential, it's a little bit different, but I just want to put them back to back. So let's just say you got 24 man hours on a traditional day. Let's say you run a 3-man crew for 8 hours, right? You got 24 man hours for the installers, the 3 installers. If you rolled this thing all the way out for self-adhering, you could get the 3 guys to install this in probably less than 30 minutes. I'm just being generous with the 30 minutes. And basically all you're doing, I mean, look at these guys here. You roll it straight out and you pull the thing off. And then you roll it back over and you're done. I mean, 3 guys can do that in less than 30 minutes. But I put 30 minutes. All right, now consider 2 hours doing the traditional style EPDM. I mean, think about it. You have to have 3 guys, all with rollers, like they're painting the EPDM 50 feet long. Then they're painting the roof deck 50 feet long. Then they have to wait for it to dry to the right consistency so that it's not too wet, not too dry. And then they all have to roll this thing over. And it takes about an hour to, I would think, 3 guys to roll out all this glue. Then they have to wait, and some parts will be dry, but the other parts you have to wait because you started over here and then you ended over here, so it consistently has to dry out all the way across this plane. And so it's about 2-hour process. So you got 3 guys doing 2 hours of work to get the EPDM to stick down on the traditional side, and probably less than 30 minutes for the self-adhering. There's a huge labor savings. There's so many reasons why you would not want to ever use traditional EPDM, in my opinion. We don't use it at all. We only use the self-adhering, and there's some benefits to it as well. I don't know the exact degree that you're allowed to install this, but it's pretty low, like in cold weather. And traditional EPDM just takes so much longer when it's colder, when there's high humidity, to deal with the glues and the adhesives. So this is one of the top, in my opinion, things that a contractor can do to help his business and his customers and be more efficient, get jobs done quicker, and be better to the environment, better to the workers. And it's hard out here to find skilled labor. But what's easier than having somebody peel off a sticky tape on the back of something and flip it over and run a broom over top of it and seal it to a roof? I mean, this stuff is not too hard to figure out. So this is one of the best things you can do for your company if you migrate over to using self-adhering EPDM, and they have self-adhering TPO where you can heat weld the seams just like you do already.